if you watched Listen to Your Heart and you loved it because of him. If you hated it despite loving him. We are so excited to have Sheridan Reed here, our Share Bear.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Excited to be here.
Is this your first reality show that you've ever been on?
Yeah. First reality show and only reality show I ever expected to be on.
Oh, interesting.
I never could have saw myself doing a reality show in a million years.
Well, then tell us how you got here.
I actually had a friend text me a screenshot of a ad on Facebook saying singer-songwriters looking for love, and an email. And I had no idea that it was Bachelor or ABC or anything like that. And I think later that week, I was just kind of having a couple of drinks by myself and was kind of like, you know what? I'll send an email just for fun. Let's see what happens.
And then when you learned it was a Bachelor-related show, were you like, okay, what was your reaction?
I definitely was surprised, and I had to take a second and try to really figure out, because I had never really seen a Bachelor before. I wasn't part of Bachelor Nation, so to speak, so I had to kind of sit with, okay, is this something I want to be permanently associated with, especially with the fact that it was a brand new concept.
Well, just between us, when you were going through this process, were any of the producers like, Jed Wyatt was the actual inspiration for this show?
No, I didn't even know who that was.
But since you have learned now, right? I'm sure you've heard so many.
Yes, I've started to find out who's who and like who's from whose season and who knows who and like who was the villain in this season and who was the good person. Like it's slowly but surely coming together. I met a couple of the girls from Peter's season a couple weeks ago when they were in Austin. It was really fun. I think it was Tammy, Jasmine, and Alea. I think I'm grabbing breakfast with Mike Johnson tomorrow. I think I'm going to go hang out with Rudy for my season. Gabe's been visiting because he's in Houston and he's actually moving to Nashville like next week too. So I've gotten to see a fair amount of him. It's been really nice.
Oh, wow. What? You just really are part of it now. This is amazing.
I guess so, right? It's a weird little family that I've kind of like slowly and am getting incorporated into. And that was one of the things too, is all of us that were on the show, we were very uncertain whether we were going to be welcomed into Bachelor Nation or whether we were going to be kind of the weird cousins that nobody talks to. But it seems like slowly but surely that we're getting brought into the fold.
So we heard that throughout the process, you guys really didn't know what was going on until Chris Harrison told you the day of. What was the most shocking thing that he relayed to you guys?
That definitely relates to my last episode, was the partner swap that nobody was really expecting.
We actually interviewed Julia, and she said that there was, she was hoping that you guys could kind of get back together, have another chance at it, have another go. What is the likelihood of there being a rekindling of you two?
Not very likely.
So percentage-wise, would this be like a 1%?
I would say less than 5%, yes. Her and I actually spoke a few weeks ago. I finally reached out just to essentially let her know that, everything that happened, it's in the past. I can forgive her. But as far as anything romantic in the future, right now it's not on the table.
And how was she receptive? Was she?
Yeah. I think she definitely felt like she valued my opinion more than the general public's. So I think for her to hear that was definitely helpful, at least in some way. And she was open to at least having a friendship.
Do you think the portrayal of Julia was fair?
The portrayal? Mm-hmm. I think there was so much going on as far as so many different couples, so many different peoples and personalities and romances going on that they showed as much as they could have of every relationship. I think there's definitely conversations that Julia and I had that were really fantastic that you guys didn't get to see. But in the context of everything, I do think everything that happened, she did do. It wasn't like she was tricked into doing something or she didn't. Again, she made all those decisions. And in the end, she ended up regretting it, like she said on camera. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where things landed with that. I think afterwards, she expressed regret about how she handled situations. And I think all of that was very sincere. I think it seems like she's looked back on the situation and the experience, and I think she's learned a lot from it as well.
Yeah. I think it's probably been positive for her in that respect. I think it was probably very negative and very difficult there for a while, right after the show.
Yeah, I think it was. There was a lot of bullying going on, which is actually, after episode 2, her and I wasn't really speaking with her very much, if at all. But I did want to address all the bullying that was going on because it was getting severely out of hand, people sending death threats, all these kind of things. And the way I essentially put it was, I love the support from everybody. I really appreciate it, but I don't want it at the expense of somebody else. It doesn't need to be that.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring somebody up without having to put somebody down. And I think, again, as far as like all that cyberbullying, like you can support me in my heartbreak from the show, and you can support Julia in her growth from learning from the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think both are possible. They're not mutually exclusive.
Do you think she has truly grown?
I think she has. Or if she hasn't, she's on her way there. I definitely know that she's very consciously making an effort.
Do you hate her? I'm just kidding.
No, I do not.
Of course you don't, because you're Cher Bear. You would never hate anyone.
Not a single person.
Not a single person ever in the history of the world. You're right. Yes.
You're kissing somebody else when I'm not around.
Feeling you.
Mm-hmm.
I've been feeling you. I've been massaging it with my musical hands.
I should move on, but I can't stop feeling you.
Is it inspired by anyone that we might know?
Feeling You was definitely a departure from the song that I wrote on the show, Coming Back, that I then released. Again, that one was much more like piano, ballad, wrote it while Julia was off on her date with Brandon. Feeling You actually was written, I had that chord progression for about 4 years or so, and I've been sitting with it, not really sure what to do with it, up until this last year, and that is all I will say about the inspiration for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you have about 127,000 Instagram followers.
Mm-hmm.
Bravo, sir.
How many dates have you been asked on in the old DM box?
More than I can count, as well as mothers saying, hey, can I set you up with my daughter? Or friends just trying to wingman for each other too, being like, hey, you should check out my friend Samantha. Or it's been a lot. But right now with quarantine, it's impossible to be dating right now.
Well, earlier in this interview, you alluded to never wanting to do another reality show. But Cher Bear, the world fell in love with you, my friend. So we're going to want to see more of you, especially within Bachelor Nation. So if they said, come on Paradise, if all these people that you're meeting up with in Fun Austin say, come be on Paradise with us, would you be willing to do it?
I'd consider it. And as far as the reality show, I said I never expected to be on one, not that I would never be on another one.
Thank you. Okay.
So I would consider it. I haven't been approached about it yet, but I will say I'm open to it.
Have you found through Instagram that the Bachelor Nation is kind of this incestuous group of everyone contacting everyone? Like, have you had a lot of DMs from Bachelor Nation people?
Some. Again, we're kind of like the weird cousins to an extent. I think I actually did an interview with Wells Adams. Wells is super, super cool. I really like him. He's fun. Yeah. And then Ari and Lauren. Those are the only people I've really been chatting with a fair amount.
Those are good people, though. I mean, that's like the cream of the crop right there. You got Wells. I mean, is anybody funnier than Wells? I don't know.
He's the best.
I know. That is something I would love to go to Paradise and like co-bartend with him and just hang out. Like that, I could see myself doing no problem.
You can just play the music. You can be the piano man. We'll set up.
Honestly.
That is a great idea.
That song that I wrote on the show, that's actually the first song I've ever written on piano, too.
Oh,
wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm mainly a guitarist. I've just taught myself piano over the last several years, a little bit here and there.
Wow, jeez.
I'm failing.
We really fell in love with you this season. I mean, it really was like you kept tugging at the old heartstrings with just your little reactions.
Well, I was just trying to be myself. It was definitely the first 24 hours, and even the first 48 hours were the most overwhelming. Brandon had the first steal of the game when the very first night I was chatting with Julia out at the fire. And as it was happening, I had kind of heard about steals just from friends who watched The Bachelor, and I was like, oh, this is what's happening. It's so strange in the moment that I was just like, okay, yeah, this is perfectly normal. And then kind of getting used to the concept of stealing from other people. So the first 48 hours was definitely a whirlwind. But after that, I was very much able to settle in and kind of just ignore the cameras and essentially just be myself, which is why there's several shots of me just off reading or journaling or just drinking wine and making music.
Well, it has to be weird being such a nice guy, being put in the situation where it's kind of like, the fittest shall survive, or not the fittest, the most ruthless, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I am not the typical guy who's like at a bar, sees a girl and he's like, I'm gonna go for her kind of thing. I'll just like be like, okay, she's cute. I'm gonna post up over here at the bar with a drink and just look brooding. And that's kind of like the go-to move.
Does that ever work, Sheridan?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I will say I am much more likely to approach somebody at a coffee shop versus a bar, just because I feel like at a coffee shop or somewhere kind of more casual like that, you can actually have a conversation, you can get to know the person a little bit. But again, the whole context of The Bachelor and Listen to Your Heart, all this stuff, the cocktail parties, that was definitely out of my comfort zone. And I think a few of us felt that way as far as, wow, this is a lot of attractive people and I don't know what to do and I don't know who anybody is. And it was hard, but I'm very glad for the experience because it's been a long time since I've been put that far out of my comfort zone. And I think kind of pushing yourself and change like that is necessary to kind of figure out what you can and can't do. And even if something like that, a year ago, I would have been like, there's no way I could go through that sort of thing or survive that sort of thing, or even make it past episode 1. So seeing how it all turned out and seeing that just kind of being myself got me where I am. I'm very happy with the experience. I think I learned a lot, made a lot of really good friends.
Thank you for bringing your energy to our TVs, and thank you for being here with us today.
I really appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much. It was lovely to meet y'all.
Tell Mike we said hello.
All right, I will.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
We were trying to take bets on whether you'd have your hair down or back or half up, half down.
I mean, it's about 100 degrees like every day right now in Texas.
Are you ever going to cut your hair? What's the hair situation?
I mean, I'm probably going to trim it at some point for health soon. I've only had one slight trim in the last 4 years that I've had it.
Oh, wow. That's like yours.
It's my length.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it also, like I said, it gets very big in the heat.
Yeah, you've got way more body than you.
He got way better hair than me. I know. I understand.